only wants you to make good beer. And have fun hanging out with your friends. Here's Dono. Today on the program, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. Or am I Hygee? Let's just go with that since that's what it says. A quality of coziness and comfortable conviviality that engenders a feeling of contentment or well-being. Danish culture. Why am I talking about that? Because there's a Imperial yeast strain, a lager strain called that. So, I was asked to, Chip was wondering if some people would do this generic green bottle recipe, which is very simple. Some pills. I actually bought a sack of Ericlea. I used it a couple years ago and liked it, and haven't used it since then. Hops are fairly minimal, and you mash low. Actually, I mashed at 149, and I'm not doing this step mash, but basically a lowish gravity beer to emulate some of these types of beers. Here's some actual green bottles. Here's a Carlsberg in a green bottle. Here's a Tuborg. Actually, I don't know if that's Danish or not. But anyway, that's what we're doing. We're going to be making a yeast starter. I've got the mash going. I'm collecting the wort. And yeah, we're sanitizing stuff. We're making a yeast starter. This will be kind of interesting. I've had this homemade stir plate that I use that you've seen in a cigar box for a decade plus. And Chip, I think this was like a floor demo model or something from Northern Brewer, and he asked me if I wanted it, and I thought, okay, I'll give it a try. Mine works fine, but I'm just going to give it a try for something different. Otherwise, yeah, how's this coming along? So yeah, that's going to be my yeast starter. Yeah, so I got to do my sparge water, and we'll boil it up in the morning, and we'll put this yeast to the test. And I'm also probably going to cold ferment this since we are still very cold. We've been at zero, been at below zero. And I feel like since I have the opportunity, might as well just do it cold. And then I can do the pressure, ferment warm lagers, lots of other times. So nothing too surprising or different, but it does work. One thing I noticed is it has 6 speeds, and then you can set a timer for how many hours. So if you wanted it to only run for a certain number of hours, you could do that. But yeah, I mean, it works just like my other one, and the yeast starter looks good. So here we are at the 15-minute hop addition. It's supposed to be half an ounce of this measly, meager 3.6% alpha acid for 15 minutes. So not a lot of boil time, not a lot of alpha acid. So basically, we're getting the whole ounce put in there. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, come on. I mean, I'm not going for the exact amount of SRMs, IBUs rather. Anyway, we are warming up a little bit today. We have been very cold. Still a lot of snow, as you would have seen in the cold IPA tasting notes where we were standing right over there. But it is nice to have the sun. I think it's like 10-15 degrees now, and might get up to 30 today. Coming down the home stretch, we have the 5-minute addition. I was realizing that I had a Czech pill somewhere at some brewery, and it was quite yummy, and it was a real familiar flavor, and it's all Zaz hops, so that's one thing that makes it different. And I just realized, gosh, I haven't made a Czech pills in a while. I've been doing German pills always, and then different versions, like cream lager, I called it. So, you know, like a light beer, but with some adjuncts. Italian pills, stuff like that. So maybe I'll put the Czech pills on the to brew list. I had this thing just filled with ice, snow water, and it's just always so nice in the winter to be able to, got some leftover snow in here, to be able to chill it down. This yeast starter is looking like $1,000,000, so excited about that. Probably wash this batch and then have it for another couple batches. This is looking good. It's about, it's in the upper 1040s, maybe almost up to 1050. We will see. I used 9.75 pounds of grain. I typically am able to get about 5 points per pound. So if I was to use 10 pounds, it would be around a 1050 result normally. So for, you know, just under 10, that's about what I would expect. And I don't know about y'all, but it's always nice to get roughly the gravity that you expect, as well as the volume. And I got about 5 gallons. That is my 5-gallon mark. And now with the starter, I'm just at that. So, gonna aerate and find a spot. This range is like 46 to 56. So I can easily keep it in that range in this St. Paul winter basement. Well, it's about 6 hours after pitching, and it's already going. You can see the positive pressure build up here, and also it occasionally bubbles, but more to the point, as you can see, it's already well, I squeeze it, and then it's already rocking and rolling, which is always what I like to see. They always say that loggers can take 24 to 48 hours to get going, and maybe that's the case if you only are pitching the packet, but I mean, you don't want to do that with loggers, but I always like to see them get going, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I came down after it was like 4 hours after pitching, and it was already indicating that it was going, so good news.
It sounds dumb to say, like real, like it just tastes, you know, it's perfect. And it's not even a clone, but it's one of the closest similar brews I've ever had.
Okay, so let's go like this. There's Exhibit A, Exhibit B. You know, I do think Exhibit A is clearer, and I thought that real on right.
Real on right.
I thought mine was pretty clear.
Yeah, that was.
But it's almost like they take it. They probably would filter. You think?
Yes.
So it's
or
like
they have more professional
clear
scale efforts
right
to
tanks.
Yeah. No, that was. I mean, we'll get into it, but one of the few things that Paul and I, first time we had these, I was like, really the only thing I feel like theirs is like worlds splitting hair, worlds different is the clarity. Besides that, man, like
it also
I
is
feel like you hit a lot of points.
It's a slightest bit more of a golden hue, and mine is almost more like pale.
But I wonder if yours was stripped clear of any.
Yeah, maybe.
We talk about that a lot.
Maybe the yeast is...
Yeast and suspension can lighten the color of a beer.
That could be. If that's the case, then
don't beat yourself.
Maybe. Well, I mean, mine was, I just reviewed it, was I think 9.5 pounds pills, 0.25 pounds Carahel, which is very light. So it is basically as light as you're going to make an all malt beer. I mean, unless you have a lighter Pilsner malt. Mine went down to 1.008. I think it was 1050 OG. When I first took a first smell of the Carlsberg, I was saying before we started rolling, it just took me back 20 years ago to my traveling around Europe. And even though this isn't Czech Republic, Poland, Germany, Austria, but it just, the smell, the crispness, the flavor. And here's another interesting thing. I just drank probably a couple dozen Mexican lagers down in Mexico.
Today? Oh.
No. Last week. And those beers are dramatically, I mean, they are different than these beers.
Oh,
They're
really?
light lagers, but I would almost bet that many of them, or most of them, use some kind of adjunct.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I bet these beers
Rice
do
corn.
not. Because you can tell, like, there is, and I love those
There's a
light
richness to
beers.
it, this like continental
Mhm.
richness. You said Araclia pills in your case, right?
Yeah. Mine, at first, the aroma, I think I did get a little bit of a Zaz aroma, and I did put some Zaz in at the end. And this one is just, I don't know, more of a Germany hop aroma.
The first time I had yours, it came out of, you know, a crowler, mini growler that traveled a block. But I will tell you, it being fresher stands out more now from this one. This one has a little bit of that transportation agedness to it. Not nearly as bad as some light struck oxidized beers, but I pick a little of it, whereas this tastes like, if you get Heineken at the Amsterdam airport, it tastes more like this. One of these, they call them European pale lagers, right?
Yeah.
So it's nice. Yours is almost like untouched, whereas this one is still good, but it has some of those characteristic traits of those well-traveled
Transported,
international
like,
beers. Granted, this
get me to put a homebrew in a green bottle and send it halfway across the world,
That'd
and
be a
like,
great episode.
it's not gonna probably taste this good. This beer is quite good, I think. Honestly,
It's best
it really
before
is.
date. The best before date on the pro version is like end of September of this year. So I don't know if they give it a year. That's
Oh,
what
I
I'm
wouldn't-
kind of assuming.
I wouldn't think so.
I don't think so. I don't
Well,
know.
this beer can't be
Craft brewers would do that.
4 or
Right?
5 months old. I don't think.
Okay.
I wouldn't think so. I mean, plus like, it's probably a fairly high volume brewery, and they're probably cranking it out. I think it's quite good. I mean, I think they both have like a bitterness.
Yeah. I was gonna say, if this is a side by side, let's side by side it.
Well, the original purpose of the video was to use the Imperial, how do you pronounce it?
Hygee.
Yeast, and then to make a Danish style generic green bottle lager. And I mean, the yeast did a fine job fermenting. I believe for this one,
Well, actually did better, because he said he went from 1049 to 1010. You're saying you went slight bit higher OG to a little bit less.
Yeah. Right, and I did not do a step mash. I can't remember the exact temperature, but it would have been probably in the video, and probably like 50-ish or a couple degrees warmer than 50 is kind of how I've been doing it. Definitely not warm fermented, cold fermented, no diacetyl. I do think, you know, they're, like you said, these are the pros. These are historic breweries. They know how to make a good beer. I'm really impressed with how well it has held up over the shipping. Mine, you know, maybe I get like a little bit of a, I don't want to say butter, but you know, it's just not like the crispiest, crunchiest, cleanest.
That's funny. I feel like yours,
Like
even
the
with that
Euro.
little bit of what you would think visually is body, because the haze, like I feel like yours is crispier, drier.
Well, that's
I would say that neither of them have butter at all.
okay.
You know, we've discussed that in previous Dono videos. Like I don't get any of that. Like it's
Yeah.
theirs just seems to have a little bit of like, just like 3% road wear, and it's not the end of the world for a beer that's so professionally brewed that way.
No, they're both.
I just feel like yours
Yummy.
is like, yeah, we pulled this out of a keg in the basement of the house we're drinking it in.
Yeah.
Boom, it's that fresh and that local.
Yeah. No, it's
And this recipe never claimed to be, it specifically said, this is not a clone of Stella,
That's
Heineken,
true.
Carlsberg. It's just
that's
in
true.
that wheelhouse of these this European pale lager. So yeah,
So really, it's just kind of a coincidental, if nothing else, that they are this close. But I mean, it's so this beer too is probably all malt and mostly Pils malt. They probably have a kiss of something else to give it. Oh, it's pretty light. They're both
I
pretty
think
light.
Dave
color,
included
but...
even that small amount of Carahel. He has a reason for believing it's in there.
Right.
So still a malt, but something that's not base malt.
Yep. But only a little bit of it. No, this was fun. I have enjoyed using adjuncts. I've made some of those, the cream ales, the cream lagers, and I like doing that, and I'll probably do that again this summer, but I think pretty much for the most part all winter I think I've used all malt with the exception of adding a little sugar into a beer here and there to boost the gravity.
But yeah, cold IPA.
Cold IPA and also India Black Lager.
Oh, what does it have in it? Also rice?
Maybe some sugar. No.
Oh, just sugar.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I did use adjunct in the cold IPA. That is correct. And also sugar. Anyway, there you go. You saw with your own eyes. Pretty similar. Pretty fun.
We tasted with our own mouths.
With our own lying mouths.
Dono's recipe at Homebrew Log.
DonOsborne.com. You can find all my shit there.
Dave Carpenter was nice enough to let us reprint this exact recipe. It's got a 3-step mash schedule and kind of a more elaborate fermentation schedule, kind of a increased temperature lager. So if you want to check out what he said, check that out. I'm gonna hook Don up with that link in the video description. But
Like and subscribe.
Don's is excellent enough at single infusion mash,
Glad you like it.
infusion temperature, single
temperature, right? Well, and then
but then you bring it up.
Yes,
right?
I did warm it up. Yep.
Whereas like this step though, it's like a 4-step process. The thing that he basically applies to all of these recipes.
Yeah,
if
people with more control of a mash temp or also fermentation temp, they can feel free to do that type of stuff. I'm not going to shake a stick at any of that stuff. It's really however you like to brew and whatever result you get that you enjoy. That's what I'm sticking with.
I see which one's gone.
Well,
Homebrew on left.
There you go, real on right. Alright guys and gals, cheers. Chime in, try out this Imperial Yeast. Is it a seasonal one?
Yep.
Is it gone?
Yep.
I love it! My timing is impeccable. Go get this. Oh, sorry.
I would go on the limb and say
again.
that like global harvest. The other year round, I would say global probably. Unless a German lager strain. Someone there might say, no, it's the other one, but I feel like it's more about brewing and fermentation regimen than anything. But I feel like the ambiance of the fermentation character is very similar in these, which is awesome.
Yeah, and just in general, they support the program indirectly, and they also make good yeast, and I've thoroughly enjoyed using it the last number of years. So thanks to Imperial, thanks for watching, we'll catch you later.
Don's kids close the door
anymore.
because they don't like hearing